Okay, so you talked about the uncertainty in associate cricket. As we normally see that, now ICC has shifted the 14-team World Cup into a 10-team World Cup. So do you feel somewhere down the line, ICC is not paying attention to the associates, or the importance of associates in the eyes of the ICC is going down day by day?
I think it's difficult to judge. I think I can understand the logistics of a 10-team World Cup, and that would make more sense. I completely understand that. And that makes sense to me as well, to be honest, because, the 14-team World Cup was good, but then again, you have a lot of mismatches, you have a lot of one-sided games, and that happens. But watching that 10-team World Cup, I can honestly say that that was not the best 10 teams in the world at that stage. And that was the disappointing part. Not the 10-team World Cup, was the fact that the best 10 teams weren't playing in that World Cup, because Scotland, in my eyes, were definitely in the top 10 at that stage. They were robbed in the World Cup qualifiers by an LBW decision.
Yeah,
that cost them a World Cup place ahead of West Indies. Afghanistan lost their first 3 games, but then ended up going to the World Cup. So there's a lot of the marginal gap between associate nations and test playing nations has definitely improved. But logistically, it does make sense for a 10-team World Cup. However, I do think that if a 10-team World Cup is happening, then every team should earn the right to qualify. I don't think every team should have a birthplace, because that just adds pressure. And, I don't think the test playing nations are being pressured enough, because, you just looked a couple of days ago, Ireland beat England.
Yeah.
But Ireland won in the World Cup. But they beat the World Cup winners. You look at Scotland beat England in 2018. Yeah. And England had a full side. They had Morgan, Bairstow, Roy, Root. They had their full side. Mark Wood, Rashid, Moeen Ali, they had their full side. But Scotland won in the World Cup. So at some point in time, you have to understand that it's gone to the stage where I think every team needs to qualify, because you can't just have the top 5 or the top 8 just saying, yeah, okay, qualify. I think every team should have a right to qualify if it's a 10-team World Cup. Obviously, if it's a 14-team World Cup, then you can go in with guarantees. But if the ICC are deciding to do a 10-team World Cup, I feel like each team should earn the right to qualify.
Just like how we have in FIFA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have, at that stage, you have the best 10 teams. Yeah. Whereas I looked at that World Cup and I said, I'm sorry, but Sri Lanka weren't good enough in my eyes for that World Cup. Afghanistan weren't good enough in my eyes for that World Cup. You look at all these teams that, associate nations would have done better. And I think Scotland would have done much better in those conditions against those teams. In my opinion, they've beaten Sri Lanka as well.
Yeah.
It's just finding that middle ground. However, in saying that, the ICC have included the ODI Championship, which I think is a great initiative, giving the Netherlands full ODI status. I think that's very good. So I think it is getting there, but it's just a case of sooner rather than later, is what I feel.
And when we talk about upsets, we have seen associate nations upset big teams. In 2007, we saw Ireland defeating Pakistan, then India getting defeated by Bangladesh, and India were a very strong side at that point of time. So these upsets keep coming from associate nations, but with this structure which we are following right now, with the 10-team World Cup, we won't be able to see associate teams make those upsets at bigger levels. What do you think about this now?
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing, because at the end of the day, what really makes us love sport is the uncertainty of it. Nobody forgets an upset. Yeah. Nobody forgets an upset. And, I think that's what makes our sport great, is that there is upsets, That's what makes football so popular, is that you never can exactly predict what's going to happen, which makes it exciting. Obviously, upsets have happened since the 1990s. When Kenya first burst onto the scene, Zimbabwe first burst onto the scene, Bangladesh, obviously. Kenya went to the semifinals of the 2003 World Cup. So back then. So, obviously it is disheartening to see. But again, like I said, I think it levels the playing field if every team has to qualify, because then, you sort of earn your right, whereas, I looked at that World Cup and I said there are about 3 teams in that World Cup who I think shouldn't be there, who I think could have been, associates would have done much better. So I think, just finding that balance is quite important.
Do you feel that, only just about top 5 teams should qualify for the World Cup, and the bottom 5 teams, along with the associate nations, should go into a qualifier or something like that, if we could have going ahead?
Yeah, of course. How the ICC does it, is obviously up to them, but I think they are making the right steps, if I'm being honest. I think what they're doing in terms of that is good. What they've, with the Test Championship and everything, trying to encourage more competitive Test cricket, I think is brilliant. But how they obviously work it out logistically is up to them. I can only voice my opinion, but I'm sure, given the history of what the ICC have done over the last couple of years, I'm sure that they are paying a lot more attention to associate nations. You've got the ICC World Cricket League 2. You've got ODI League 2. You've got more teams, more teams now than ever having ODI status.
Yeah.
So I think the steps are getting there. You can't go from zero to hero, and I think the ICC have understood that. And I think it's only a matter of time that things like this will be implemented. Maybe after the 2023 World Cup is when things change, and all we can do as cricket fans is hope that teams do get that day in the sun.
Okay, and talking about Test playing nations.